Alright, in this video we will learn about the overflow property in CSS. The overflow CSS shorthand property sets the desired behavior when the content does not fit in the elements padding box. Basically, when the content overflows in the horizontal or and in the vertical direction. So as you can see, when basically the height and the width is fixed inside of a container, like inside a box, and the content of that particular box overflows, then we have this. And this is the default behavior, which is the overflow visible. Then we have the overflow hidden, we have the overflow clip, we have the overflow scroll, and then we have the overflow auto. And the overflow property is the shorthand for overflow-x and overflow-y. Basically the overflow in the x direction and overflow in the y direction. Okay, so let's see that in action. So we have our beautiful card which we have built. Okay, so we will use that. So now if I go to the code editor, now we have this paragraph, right? So let's do a class of paragraph, and what I'll do, I will just copy paste that a little bit bunch of times. Okay, and hit save. Now if I go to the browser, what happens is that because our container do not have a fixed height, so the content is basically there and our container is adjusting its height, but we can change that. So if I go here and let's do a height of 600 pixel. Okay, go here, and now as you can see, our content is now overflowing. So height, let's reduce that to something like 300 pixel, then it will be good. And what I'll do, I'll reduce the text as well a little bit. Okay, so now here it is. So by default the content is now overflowing. Okay, and it is overflowing and the overflow is set to visible. But for example, you want to have a scrollable section where you can scroll, so we can do that as well. So basically what we can do, we can go to the code editor, and here for the container we can set the overflow to scroll. So first of all we have the visible, which is the by default. Okay, then we will see the scrolling, so it is the visible one. Then what we can do, we can do something like scroll. Okay, so now what will happen, so there are these scroll bars will appear. Okay, and now we can scroll to get the content here. Okay, so here it is. But what if you don't want to have anything like the scroll bars or anything, you just want to get rid of, not get rid of, but you don't want to show the overflowing content. So in that case we have another property which is called hidden. Okay, now it is hidden and now I cannot scroll anymore. Okay, I cannot scroll. This is a fixed like height of the container, and here we have the content, the last line, but apart from that the other lines are hidden. Okay, now what we can do, we can add the scroll as well. Okay, and now we have this paragraph, right? So paragraph, we have the class of paragraph here, so we will style that. So for the paragraph, okay, so let's do a width of, so this width is 400 pixel. So what we can do, we can do a width of something like 600 pixel, and let's add a background as well. So background color of something like blue violet, and color of white. Okay, white. Let's see how that looks. So right now, here it is. Here is our paragraph basically, and it is scrolling because we have set to overflow to scroll. And as you can see, it is scrolling in the both directions, vertically, which is in the y direction, and horizontally, which is in the x direction. And these scroll bars are a little bit ugly as well, I know, but as you can see, we can scroll, okay, in the both direction. But for example, you just want to scroll vertically, you don't want to have a horizontal scroll bar. So what you can do, you can set to the overflow, just the overflow y to scroll. If you do that, okay, so this is still scrolling because we have to do overflow x of hidden. So if we do that, then we do not have the scroll bar for the x direction anymore. We just have the scroll bar for the y direction. Okay, so it is just vertically scrolling, and we can do the same thing vice versa, right? If I just do overflow y to hidden and set the overflow x to scroll, if I do that, then we have this scrolling effect only in the x direction, which is the horizontal direction. So this is basically the overflow property in CSS. So whenever you want to have some overflow, like you want some more text inside of a fixed height and the width container, you can use the overflow property to set the overflowing behavior. Okay, so this is the overflow property in CSS.